Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, the thing about acting a lot of times is there's a transfer of character always. And so I think Philip Seymour Hoffman, like, honestly, rest his soul, he said it well once in an interview. He said there's always a price to be paid. There's always, whenever you play a character truly, there's transference. You know, you take on whatever they do. So, yeah, with Dyson, I've become a little more animalistic, I must admit. I mean, before, like with Touch of Pink and the Tudors, I was always very soft-spoken. And now I'm like calling myself Uncle Couches, and I'm like, yeah, sure, it's not like, who the hell am I? My mother's like, weird, stop peeing in the corners. It's bad.
So let's expound on that question for just a minute. How did you approach, playing this character? How, it's different from someone on the Tudors or for some, a traditional human character.
It was actually really great. It was, I kind of pulled back on a lot of the, the things you learn when you're training as an actor, because oftentimes we don't have to use all the tools. And it was a lot of animal, physical work. It was, a lot of mirror work, going into a yoga room and just like seeing how different, how I could express an animal but still like make it work cinematically, and and just the imagery of wolves and things like that. And it's a great journey and a gift to be able to play something that's outside of the norm, And I mean, technically, you don't want to hear about the technical stuff, right?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Okay, so it was a lot of this. It's like, ah, stupid. Until I found something, I was like, yeah, that was pretty cool. And then, of course, all the people outside the yoga room were, are you done? Idiot. Get out of there. But what's interesting is there's a lot of, it takes a lot of energy to play these superhuman characters. And it was like, I come out of these rooms and I'm exhausted. I'm like, we should make this superhuman workout. Look in the mirror and try to look like a superhero. Eventually you will. It'll take a little while.
Absolutely. Well, and also when when you change your center of gravity and when you change your physical, your physical body, it is so intensive, and it's draining mentally and physically, I would imagine.
And it changes your posture too, which is interesting. Like, we all hold ourselves a certain way. It was a whole musculature that needed to be learned. And it was funny, Ksenia, when she played me for that one episode, she would hold herself the way I do, and she's like, God, that really messes up your back. It's like, yeah, herniated disc, yo. Don't do it for too long.
You turned into Jesse and Breaking Bad,
Really? Great, so maybe I can do it. Nothing Fast and the Furious, bad knockoff.
Do it.
Sorry, Aaron, you're awesome.
All right, let's go over here.
This is a question for both of you. There are quite a few scenes where Bo is sucking the animated chi out of your characters' bodies. What is it like to film those scenes? Are you just having open mouths looking at each other?
Yes.
Kind of like this. You'll all be watching and now going, yeah.
That's pretty much it in a nutshell. Anna's an old pro. Every time we have a guest star that comes on the show, she's just like, just open your mouth and stare at me. Just do it. That's how they.
That's the registration. Thank you for that. All right. Yes.
I was wondering, because like you said before, there are a lot of sex scenes in the show, and I was wondering, was that hard in the beginning? Did it ever get like hard, or was it like totally natural?
You hope it doesn't get hard.
I knew that was coming. I knew that was coming.
It always does.
I mean, not me, but just to clarify. It's, I don't know. I mean, some sex scenes are less comfortable than other sex scenes, depending on the person and how well.
You're on a bed or a barrel or.
Sure, Sure. Are you doing it on a barrel?
I did once.
Oh, really?
Twice, probably.
Yeah, because sometimes it's like the first scene of the day and you just literally met them that morning in the hair and makeup trailer and then you have to go and you've got to figure it out. But I mean, it's kind of like any other scene, you just sort of got to do it.
The most
Have you done
uncomfortable.
sex scenes?
I have, yes.
Yeah, they're okay, right?
Just jump on in.
You jump on in, not right in, but in.
It's really you'd hope. It's not usually the partner you're working with, it's the fact that there's like 100 crew members walking around going, yeah, that's good idea. And you're sitting there naked. I think my worst experience was on our pilot, which was episode 8 of our first season.
But when we did our scene, you had your back to camera, didn't you?
Yes.
And the camera was right in line with Kris, his bum. And he was bent over the bed on sort of on top of me.
Yeah.
So,
And I wasn't wearing anything.
no, because guys
I'm
always wear
sitting there-
a sock. That's
Yeah.
what I did for that. And I couldn't say sock without that movement.
Can you just picture yourself having to go to work and all of your workmates are where you are, and I'm like this naked.
That's exactly.
And I'm a skinny dude, so there's no like hiding.
You've said that so many times, and I'm imagining a bigger. Is there hiding with bigger people? Like.
I would imagine so.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm confused about that too.
I don't get it. He always
Yeah.
says the same. I'm skinny, so there's no hiding, and I'm picturing
Like, but yeah.
Okay.
if you're bigger than Kris,
Okay.
you're bigger than a blanket that hangs off your ass, and it's amazing. It's incredible.
Next question, please.
I think so.
It's awkward, all
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
Well, awkward.
It's awkward yet fun. Yeah, you know.
But yeah, it can be fun.
Yeah,
That'll be fun.
why not? Thank you. Yes, let's take it over here.
That's a tough act to follow.
It sure is.
One of the things I like about Canadian television is the rich diversity in characters and shows. And I'd like to know if y'all think that shows like Lost Girl will sort of filter down into American television. And, oh yeah, I guess only one question. So who's going?
You mean in the shows that are created out of the States?
No, Canadian television filtering down into American mainstream television. How you think your show and shows like it are affecting what we get to see as far as diversity of characters, diversity of.
Are you noticing, let me try to paraphrase, are you noticing an influence
Do we
Canadian television shows on the
I
sensibility?
don't know, but I
of
hope
what's
so.
coming out
I hope
in
so,
America?
certainly. Yeah, I mean, you know, that would be fantastic. I think that, you know, as much as the States has to teach the Canadian film and television industry, maybe we have a little something to teach back, and that being one of those things would be kind of great.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, there's so many great shows that come out of the States. I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
usually we're following you guys, and if you say that we offer something that maybe has a little more diversity,
I think she's
then
right. I think
thank you
we
so
do.
much for that. But
Most definitely you do.
really, okay.
Thanks.
I promise.
Thank you.
Thank you, great question. Yes.
Jack.
Kris, love you guys, love the show. My
Thanks.
question is about practical jokes.
Oh.
Who of the cast is the worst practical joker, and what is the worst one that's been played on you, or that you played on somebody else in the end?
We're not big practical jokers. We don't try to like mess each other up too much. It's just
No.
a lot of spontaneous.
You're inclined to sort of come into the scene with your pants around your ankles sometimes.
That's true.
That would be like Kris's thing. And but like Anna and I are always cracking up on stuff. Like we laugh a lot. You know, like we just sort of get into the giggles and then we can't shoot the scenes. We're laughing so much.
Zoe is definitely the comically funny show. She's got a wit like a whip, and no whip thing to say there.
No, that's it. I was just gonna let you compliment me. I was gonna sit here.
But yeah, no,
We don't practical joke a lot. do we?
not too much. Also because we're under a lot of time constraints.
It's
so
time.
it's like, you know, when you shoot a show like ours, which is quite a big show in 7 days, there's no time to mess around.
You can feel the tension on set sometimes if we're falling behind.
If we're walking around and like making people laugh, you can feel like the producers starting to go. Yeah,
They're not nearly as enamored with us as you guys are.
I hit your mark. Start acting.
Do you guys have a favorite episode of all the seasons that you've done? There's a bunch. I liked Foot Soup a lot. I loved that episode. That was kind of cool. Episode 7 of this past season was fun. The body switching episode. For you?
I like the original body swap one when we were all in the bar.
Yeah.
But pretty much for me, I mean, I like the backlash one. I like the backlash. There I am bending over in front of you all. The 206, the flashback. Some of the end of season 4, I like some of these ones. There was some pretty powerful stuff. There's been a lot of good ones.
Yeah. And sometimes it's a scene. Sometimes it's not an entire episode, but sometimes we'll have a really great scene that, or a dynamic in a scene that hasn't been played out before. Certainly you and I have explored some of that in the last little bit. Nice. Yes.
So I love how the show Lost Girl pulls from so many different like mythological legends and things like that. And when you guys got your roles initially, did you do any sort of research, like to get inspiration or anything?
Research for the characters.
Yeah.
Well, I'm researching as I go, generally, because I have to look up some of the stuff that I have to say. And what I have to say not only is a medical jargon, but it's sci-fi medical jargon. So sometimes it's like, sort of derives from something real, but they've really sort of expanded on it. And so in that way, I research as we go in order to sort of sound like I know what I'm saying. But in terms of the kind of fake world bit, I didn't do a ton of it. Did you? I mean, you sort of knew more about that when you came onto the show.
Yeah, I mean, I love some of the wolf mythology that had been presented in some of the books that I read growing up, like Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time. You know, like the Perrin with Hopper and that whole sort of, you know, and the dream, I can't even tell Enarod or however you want to say it. You know, that sort of idea that the wolf spirit lives on another plane and is immortal. I brought that to our, right in my audition for the pilot. I said, you know, these are some ideas that I would love to bring into the show, and they loved that. And I've always thought of Dyson not so much as a werewolf at all, more of a shifter, a shape shifter, and that it's more of a spiritual thing, almost druidic in nature. And so I pulled from those sort of roots. And hopefully that, I was talking to Jay about this, that, you know, that nature, that the connection with nature that Dyson would have as a shifter, maybe we can use as something in the storyline later on that, you know, is some sort of power versus an evil that maybe hopefully a chance to explore them. Thanks.
You look great, by the way.
Yeah,
Yes, good job.
I left Biscuit.
Where's Biscuit? Yeah.
Yeah, he's over there. Get head right. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Oh.
Yes.
Start crystalling out on myself over here.
Hi. My question is, how did shooting compare from first day to like the newest episode? Yes.
From the first day to the nearest stuff?
Yeah. So the stuff we've already seen.
First day was like, holy shit! What are you doing? God!
I didn't do any of that on the first day.
And I was like, oh, all right. Yeah, that's better. How's that?
We have sort of found our characters as we've gone, though. You know, they have evolved for sure. We've figured out different ways to play them, and now that we know kind of more about them. I mean, certainly my character, I didn't even know if I was good or bad or what I was about for the longest time. So it took half the first season to even sort of figure out how to really connect to Lauren, because I knew what you knew, which was not mine.
Yeah. That's a good question. How far in advance, I mean, not just getting the script, obviously, but do you guys get to speak with the writers and say, hey, this season I'd like to arc my character this way, or I'd like to reveal this? How much influence and how far in advance do you know about decisions that they're making?
Well, it's an open door policy for sure, and they're happy to talk to us at all times. They have a pretty good idea of the arc of the season, like what they're working on can you say that right? 5? Yeah, you guys know that we're coming back.
Yay!
Yeah, so you know, they know what they're doing already. They have a pretty good idea of that, and then, you know, they can have conversation. Apparently I can't construct a sentence right now, so sorry. But yeah,
okay, you sound great.
Thanks, yeah, I was like staggered through this.
So interesting, but there were certain aspects that weren't revealed until maybe early on they were making decisions more per episode, and now there's more longevity there, so they're kind of.
Yeah, you know, they have they really need to arc out their season, and when we bring them our own individual ideas, they have to service the show, you know. And so it's all about fitting them in the right place, and whether or not they can or not. And in the past, they've been really great with allowing us to do so. I remember at the end of